Hello and welcome. My name is Alan, and we are back with more State Governments and Officials 2025-2026. Today was meant to be Wednesday's video, but anyway, we are looking at the state of Georgia. And yeah, let's go ahead and hop into this. First, let's take a look at its constitutions, whereas most of these states are going to be with a constitution. The current one they're under was ratified November the 2nd, 1982, created September 25th, 1981. All ratified means is passed into law. It was accepted. But yeah, you had the original royal charter in 1732. That was pre-revolution. A lot of your early colonies were under royal charters. Then you have the antebellum constitutions, the pre-Civil War constitutions. One in 1776, one in 1777, one in 1790. One in 1798, and finally he didn't have another until 1861. Then you have postbellum, after the Civil War. 1865, 1868, and 1877. 20th century, 1945, 1976, and then the Constitution of 1983, which is their current one. (1983), but the current one they're under wasn't ratified until November of 1982. Anyway, the constitutions that have kind of formed the basis of Georgia. Georgia is known as the Peach State. Its capital, you usually want to say Atlanta, but I'm not sure if that's correct. I think it may be Athens. Atlanta is the largest city by and far. Seat in Atlanta. Well, trying to see if I can find some verification. Anyway, maybe it is Atlanta. Anyway, the government of Georgia, as is listed here, of course, as we have mentioned with every other state we've looked at, they always seem to be very heavily based upon the U.S. system of government. Legislative, executive, judicial branch. Same with Georgia. You got legislative, where you've got the General Assembly, the executive, and judicial. Yeah. one thing a lot of the governments always tried to keep, they realized how important it is to keep separate the levels of power so that no branch could be so over authoritarian and overreaching like our current president has tried to rig it to be. That's another story. Yeah. Let's go ahead and look at our executive branch, well, state government of Georgia. Republican form of government, not the party, but the Republican form of government. It has nothing to do with the fucking party. Because Republican and Democratic are very similar in the same vein. Three branches: legislature, executive, and judiciary. Separation of powers, checks and balances, yeah. Seat of government in Georgia is Atlanta. Yeah, it is the capital. So the largest and capital city of Georgia. Now you have some of the positions that are elected in Georgia. Three other state executive nonpartisan offices: auditor, treasurer, and commissioner of natural resources. Got your agencies and cabinet. But with this, let's go ahead and look at these individuals. Your governor, Brian Kemp. Your lieutenant governor, Burt Jones. Attorney General, Chris Carr. Your Secretary of State, Brad Raffensperger. The State School Superintendent, Richard Woods. The Commissioner of Agriculture, Tyler Harper. The Commissioner of Insurance, John King. Commissioner of Labor, Barbara Rivera Holmes. Public Service Commission Chairman, Tricia Pridemore. Let's see, elected official. Okay, so she's part of the Public Service Commission along with Tim Echols, Public Service Commissioner. Another member of the Public Service Commission, Fritz Johnson. Another member, Lauren Bubba McDonald. And last member of the Public Service Commission, Jason Shaw. But Tricia Pridemore is the chairman of that group. Now, like they said, there's also three other state executive nonpartisan offices. But they are appointed by the General Assembly, by the State Depository Board, and nominated by the Georgia Board of Natural Resources and appointed by the governor. So these aren't necessarily elected, but they have to be appointed or given approval. Your state auditor, Greg Griffin, your state treasurer, Steve McCoy, and the Georgia Commissioner of Natural Resources, Walter Rabin. Now, the agencies which would serve as the cabinet and everything, you have the Department of Administrative Services, Department of Agriculture, Department of Audits and Accounts, Department of Banking and Finance, Department of Behavioral Health and Developmental Disabilities, Bureau of Investigation, Department of Community Affairs, Department of Community Health, Department of Community Supervision, Department of Corrections, Department of Defense, Development Authority, Department of Driver Services, Department of Early Care and Learning, Department of Economic Development, Department of Education, Department of Human Services, Department of Insurance, Department of Juvenile Justice, Department of Labor, Department of Natural Resources, Department of Public Health, Department of Public Safety, Public Service Commission, Department of Revenue, Department of Transportation, and Department of Veterans Service. So some of those we have already heard before because some of them already had members that actually are elected to the office. But I'm sure a lot of the others are appointed straight by the governor or confirmed, at least nominated and confirmed. So now let's go ahead and talk about the legislature. They do build a law, like your normal legislature does. The federal legislature takes a bill and let's go ahead. Oh, that's judiciary. We won't. General Assembly. Bicameral House, remember. One body, two chambers. The Senate, House of Republicans. Interestingly enough, no term limits is what it says. That's interesting. Senate President, Burt Jones, which was our lieutenant governor, so he kind of serves the way the vice president does in the U.S. Senate. Senate President Pro Tem is vacant, so that's an empty seat. And then your House Speaker is John G. Burns. Now let's look at each chamber of the General Assembly for Georgia. You have 56 senators, 33 Republicans, 23 Democrats, which is interestingly a lot closer than I figured it might be. I figured it would be one of these states that's much redder, but clearly, as is the case nationally, it's in the state also getting a little more blue. The House of Representatives, 180 members, 100 of them Republican, 80 Democrat. Now the House of Representatives have 2-year terms, but apparently it's the Senate that has no term limits. Or, sorry, there is no term limits, but the House, you serve for a 2-year period. If I can get my information correct here. each of the General Assembly's 236 members serve 2-year terms. So there's no difference between the House and the Senate. They both serve 2-year terms. We know a lot of other states, the Senate will have 4 years or be like the federal and have 6. But I think this is the first time I've seen the Senate with 2-year terms. That's interesting. Let's see. Clearly, they've been a number of places over the history of the state. Savannah, Augusta, Louisville, and there's Milledgeville. Finally, with being reunited with the U.S. after the Civil War, it's moved to Atlanta. Well, let's see. Trying to see if we got anything else here. When a person is guilty of contempt, the individual may be imprisoned if ordered by either the House or the Senate. Sessions of the General Assembly, including committee meetings, are open to the public, as they should be, except when the House makes an exception. I mean, you're working for the people. They should be open to the public. Now, if there's sensitive information, I can understand. But for the most part, all branches of the government should be open to the public for meetings. But yeah, that's the Georgia executives and legislature. Final thing we want to look at. Well, let's look at the former governors of Georgia and stuff, because it's fun to find out if they've got any big names like in American history. There's Button Gwinnett. If you're a Fallout 4 fan, you've heard the name. Let's see. He was the 8th governor. Second one post becoming a free nation. A lot of them in the 1700s, 2-year terms is all they really tended to serve. That was 3 years. There's 4. But yeah, a lot of them served in small batches of time. There's one that served, was out, and served again. Anyway, yeah, Gwinnett was probably the biggest name we'll recognize. But anyway, now on to the judiciary. Let's take a look here. Current justices for the Georgia Supreme Court. And that's always going to be the highest one, your Supreme Court. You have Nels S.D. Peterson as Chief Justice, Sarah Hawkins Warren as Presiding Justice, Charlie Bethel, John J. Ellington, Carla Wong McMillan, Sean Ellen LaGrua, Verda Colvin, Andrew Pinson, and Benjamin Land. And you'll notice it's a clean sweep for Republicans. That one's neither Republican nor Democrat. It don't look like Ellington, so interesting. Previous Chief Justices of the Supreme Court for Georgia. There we go. Courts. You also have, okay, on that Supreme Court, there was a total of 9 judges. You have below that a Court of Appeals. Then 49 Superior Courts. The Court of Appeals is a 12-judge panel. But then it's 49 Superior Courts. And under the current Constitution, it also has magistrate courts, probate courts, juvenile courts, state courts, and the General Assembly may also authorize municipal courts. There's other courts like the county recorder's courts, civil courts, and other agencies in existence. Yeah, that's what that has. Let's go back over here. Courts of Georgia. It has Supreme Court, Court of Appeals. There's the Superior Courts, 49 circuits for them. So you divide the state up into 49 parts. The Georgia Statewide Business Court. Okay. Georgia State Courts, Georgia Magistrate Courts, and Georgia Juvenile Courts, Probate Courts, and Municipal Courts. But yeah, that's a look at the court system in Georgia. They don't give me too much information on that, but yeah. So that'll be a look at the state government and officials for the state of Georgia. We'll go ahead and, if I can find my mouse, end this video here. As always, educate thyself. Think, read, study, learn. Someone tells you something you have trouble believing, ask them to cite their sources. I'll be putting my links and sources in the description box below the video. thank you all for watching. I'll see you all in the next one. Until then, later.